everyone, we are here with Alex from Vile Rites, a fantastic fucking heavy band from California. If you don't know them, check them out. Alex, greatly appreciate you joining me tonight. And I know I just said it, but man, the fucking new album is fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. I'm glad you like it. And also just want to throw out there a nice shirt. Those guys are from the area too. Good buds with those guys.
Yeah, right on. So he does this, Redwood, and then Dear Lord also.
Yep.
Yeah, Schaefer. I had Schaefer on a couple months ago. He's super fucking nice dude.
Hell yeah, man.
Hell yeah. That's cool. Like you're the first person to comment on the shirt today, so I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a cool little scene out here. It's like, lots of just buddies doing different kind of shit and lots of mixed bills because everyone's friends with everyone. So it's cool stuff.
I feel like that's a good way to go, right? Having mixed bills, because then you don't go in and just have like a thrash band all night or just a death metal band all night, you know?
Yeah, I personally love like a good mixed bill. Sometimes you end up with kind of a wonky running order or whatever, but it can be I think it can be beneficial like on festivals, especially like festivals if it's like a little bit mixed up because it's like you're out there for a few days or whatever and it's just like, all right, I'm ready to hear something different or
Yeah.
what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't listen to Grind for 4 fucking days. Come on, you know? Yeah. I agree. I think a mixed bill with the right mix,
Totally.
like obviously if you got a country band and a death metal band, it doesn't really jive, but
Yeah, there are limitations. I'll give you
yeah, for
that.
sure. So when you guys, how long did it take you guys to write and record the upcoming album?
Um, Good question. I mean, it's so we recorded in um March of this year, and I would say that like when we were did our EP, released our EP in January of 22, um, we already had some stuff written for this. So it was kind of like, we were just churning stuff out in the beginning, and then we kind of just selected the songs we wanted to like polish for the EP, and then that's kind of where we landed. And but yeah, so like I would say we got like started to get serious about writing again, you know, a, about a year after that. And some of it came together pretty quick, and just a lot of like jamming in the practice space and stuff. We're pretty like organic when it comes to our writing process.
Yeah.
Lots of just kind of free form jamming and messing with new ideas and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, I guess I'd say a couple of years. Basically, like as soon as the EP was done, we had some stuff written. We There was some lulls, like I said, and I also play in the band Mortuous, and
Okay.
so like we were pretty busy for a little while there, so that kind of caused a little bit of lull in writing. Um, but yeah, as soon as I kind of got off tours with those guys, I was like hitting it, and yeah, we kind of churned this thing out in about a year, I'd say.
Right on. Well, it's, I feel like listening to the finished product, I can look back and go, well, I can theorize on how you guys did because it feels it's really well put together, the way every song flows into the next, right? I enjoy the tempo changes mid-song too, which is like you're going and then it's like, oh, let's ride,
And
you know?
chill out. No,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. A lot of thought was put into like the running order, I'd say, and it's kind of funny because like that you mentioned that last song, because I was like, this is the last song. That was the first one. Actually, that almost landed on our EP, and we were kind of like, no, we got to like fill this in more, and like we're not like, I don't know. I just felt like that song had to evolve a little bit more before we put it out.
Yeah.
But I always knew like because of the ending and how kind of like big the ending is, I was like, this has to be the closer of the album. And so yeah, that was actually the first song. So I kind of knew that was going to be the ender, and then like kind of just as I write the songs, I feel like, or as we write the songs, I kind of feel like we'll kind of discuss like, oh, like, once you have a couple, it's like, oh, this one sounds like it would be cool openers or, whatever. Um, so yeah, I think I would say like we had the order in mind, like as we were writing these songs, and it flip flopped at the end. Like we wanted to have like the two sides of the album be pretty like equal in
Yeah,
length. So there was a little bit of like shifting towards the end, but I would say like, yeah, like that was kind of a planned thing, I would say.
that's pretty cool. Like starting with the end in mind,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
I feel like it's a really good way to build because the way the album flows, it does build into that last song and holy shit. Like I honestly I can't get over it. Like I've listened
Oh yeah.
to it, I don't know, two or three times today alone, and
Awesome.
I I can't fucking wait for the release so I can just listen to it all the time, you know?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're definitely proud of that one, and we're like, God, this is gonna be a journey to play this live. But when you're playing progressive death metal and writing songs that are too long, I guess that's something you got to deal with.
Well, too long. What is too long, right?
Right.
Like,
I'm just kidding, but like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I love like Opeth and Prog and Rush and all those long song bands. So I think that kind of just ended up working its way into my own writing style.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I was having a conversation earlier about some of the earlier Metallica, and they had some of those longer songs too, right? Like,
Totally.
um, uh, shit, Pink Floyd, right? My taste is all over the
Oh
board.
yeah.
Um,
Same.
so to have to you listen to death metal and you get the 3 to 5 minute songs, and then when you throw in some progressive metal in there, it really builds and it becomes instead of just a straight like punch to your fucking face, it's like a punch to your face, let me take you up somewhere and then maybe I'll box you a little more, so it becomes like just this big fucking journey, and I feel for me that the album really flows that way. Just fuck, it's good.
Totally. Thanks, man. It's definitely kind of like, yeah, it's always been kind of our goal. It's like, we're not really like a singles band. It's like we write the whole album and it is the way it is because we wanted it to be that way. And that's, that is our expression of, what we're trying to do. So yeah, it's to really get the experience. I feel like you have to just listen to it front to back and just vibe with it because, it does take you on a little, it's good driving music, just
Yeah.
sit in your car and you're like going on a journey physically and mentally.
Yeah, you hit those points where you're like, oh shit, I'm doing 120. I need to really slow it down, you know.
Totally.
Um, it's really good, and I like the full album experience because for me it's to look at the album is it's a just a single piece of art, right? Versus each
Totally.
song as their own piece.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess that's why I collect vinyl because you have that big tangible, you're looking at the art and you can check all the lyrics out. Well, at my age without putting readers on and all that shit.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of one of those things where yeah, I think it's kind of a lost art on a lot of genres and bands and stuff like that. It's like, the idea of like that you have to churn out singles and you have to have like these standalone songs. It's like I've never really been a fan of that, really.
Right.
Of course, everyone loves a good catchy song or whatever, but it's like when it comes to like my favorite albums, it's like, you know, like you mentioned Pink Floyd and like the Rush and shit comes to mind, and it's like these are albums you have to listen. It's like 2112 or Caress of Steel. It's like side B is just like one song, and that's kind of like one of those things where it's like maybe there's definitely like we're going in that direction to just keep on with the long like form songs, but Gorguts even. It's like,
Yeah.
Pallades Dust or whatever.
Shit, blood incantation.
Yeah, totally. Love those guys. And like, yeah, so like all those, like that's what I enjoy listening to, is like a thought out like movement of music versus
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to like create a playlist with like a million different bands, and just like every song is like, kind of like a pop structure song.
Yeah.
That's not really what I'm into personally.
Yeah. Well, and that's, the cool thing about like, I guess for a lot of bands is, let me say, let me rephrase that, right? The cool thing about bands who make music that last, they seem to make music that they want to hear, that pleases them, you know?
Totally. And I think that like it's funny because it's like I was just watching like I'm anticipating the new like Opeth record, and I was just watching an interview with like Michael Ackerfeld, and he was like he quoted something. He was like, a good musician never listens to anything, or never listens to any advice, or like never does what they're told, or whatever, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of how I've always like looked at it, because it's like you think of all this like something that influenced me heavily is like the prog and psych of like the 70s, late 60s, early 70s and stuff. And it's like, yeah, if those guys were like scared to put out some weird shit, like we wouldn't have most of my favorite music. So it's like, I think at the end of the day, you kind of have to just like take that risk, because it's like you could try to be like, okay, I'm gonna write this really like straightforward death metal album, everyone's gonna like it, and then it like falls flat because it's like generic or something. It's like, well, shit, I could have just put all my effort into like writing something I really wanted to create, and like could have fallen flat too, but at least I know I like did what I wanted to do. So that's kind of I guess that's the approach that we've kind of had.
Yeah. It's a really good approach. And I think that's why I'm attracted more to like underground music, because it's, if you want to be on the cutting edge or watch where music is going, you don't, you don't watch, MTV or pop radio and all these big artists, right? You look at what's on
Totally.
the underground, because that's the people who they're pushing the envelope constantly. And it's the music is just it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot more genuine,
Yeah,
right?
and I mean it's like integrity is like just like having integrity with what you're like doing, and it's like, I guess, who am I to say what anyone should do? But it's like, to me, I think the more artists that we have, especially in the underground, it's like I was just thinking about this today. It's like if you're gonna try to appease, it's like let like the Justin Biebers and like whatever, like these huge like they're like not they're like basically a corporation, just like expressed by one person. It's like
Yeah.
they need to like keep that fucking machine going. It's like we're playing death metal. It's like you might as well, you're never going to get rich off of it, so
Right.
you might as well just like actually play something that you want to play and hear.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how I look at it. It's like I'm not a fucking pop star, like
no, and that's, again, that's, getting into the underground music, whether it's death metal or punk or doom or whatever. There's a reason that a lot of that music hasn't hit the mainstream. I think um for lack of a better term, right? The normies, they can't comprehend what really is going on, um, just around the world in the different music scenes with the different bands, you know?
yeah, and it takes like a time investment too, and it's like I think most metalheads, I think, that grew up around like my age or whatever, and I'm 31, is like you start on like thrash metal, and a lot of people have that like stereotypical like trajectory of like kind of starting on like Black Sabbath and Metallica and stuff, and slowly like working their way up to like more extreme forms of music. And so I think there is part of like you have to like, I don't know what causes that or why you would do it, but it's like you have this like, oh, I want to understand this and want to like dive deeper into it. And I think that's something that a lot of people just don't. invest the time into, like not everyone is spending all this time like listening to music and stuff. They're just like, all right, like what's on pop radio
Yeah.
101 or whatever, whatever, and just good with that. Whereas like people like us are like, oh, this is cool. I have to go like listen to their whole discography and
Yeah.
like, you know, so it's a lifestyle, I think.
It absolutely is. It's like, and it's more than a lifestyle. It's like there's like a lust for it, like, man,
Totally.
this band is really good. And you hear the interviews or read the interviews and you're like, oh, they were influenced by these bands. Well, fuck, I've never heard of that one. I need to dig into that now. And you know,
Totally.
before long you're in this fucking rabbit hole of like, I don't even know where I started, but man, there's some
Yeah.
good shit.
Yeah, totally. Just like the Spotify wormholes of like
Yeah.
just like clicking band after band after band, and then you're just like, okay, I don't even remember any what I just
Yeah.
listened to, but I documented it, so I'll go back to it eventually.
I'll figure it out somehow for
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
So for you, like, who are some of those bands that influenced you to really start playing?
Man, I mean, to start playing like as a kid, it was like, it was like Deep Purple, Foghat, Hendrix, Zeppelin, kind of like that, proto metal stuff, I guess. But it's like kind of I guess the rougher edge of rock and roll is what I kind of thought of it at the time, especially with like Foghat or Deep Purple. It's like, I had this like kind of view of these people that were like, they're like wearing these weird clothes and, probably drunk half the time. And I was like, man, those guys are sick,
That's yeah.
like rocking out on stage. And like, it's not like, I would watch like, I had like Deep Purple live videos and stuff that like my dad had got me as a kid. And like, I remember watching that and be like, man, this sounds nothing like the album, but it's fucking awesome. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And, and, so yeah, I think I just got like kind of enamored with the like rock and roll, and then kind of started to get more into like the kind of the darker stuff, like like Black Sabbath and stuff, where it's kind of like, okay, like this is like getting a little bit more like, I don't know, like vibey or something. And yeah, I kind of just went from there. And I was playing, I kind of just played like Jimi Hendrix songs and like Blue Oyster Cult and the classic shit that kids kind of gravitate towards, I guess. And then yeah, I started getting to like thrash metal, like Metallica and Megadeth, and just the Slayer, of course, and all that shit. And I was in a thrash band in high school and after high school, um, so yeah, that's kind of just like kind of the like stereotypical, like I'm gonna be on a metalhead trajectory kind of stuff, but still lots of like psychedelic stuff like Cream, Pink Floyd, stuff like that. And I guess that's kind of what got me to pick up the guitar initially. But like in terms of like death metal and stuff, it was like bands like Opeth and At the Gates,
So
Cynic, Atheist.
I'm doing the Headbangers Boat in October, and At the Gates was on there, and I was like, oh, I'm so looking forward to that, and they dropped off, and I'm like,
Uh,
oh, like
yeah, I
Carcass will be there, so that'll be cool. But I'm like, man, I really wanted to see fucking At the Gates.
dude, yeah, I just got to see him on this like uh um they were doing a Slaughter of the Soul like or not reunion, but anniversary tour.
Yeah,
And I got to see it. That was the first time I had seen At the Gates actually, and I was like, that checked that one off the bucket list. That was pretty awesome. They definitely delivered
hell
it.
yeah, yeah. I felt that way with Meshuggah, and I was really like, I was like At the Gates, like I've never been able to see them. Every
Mhm.
time something happens or something else is going on, and I'm like, fuck, I got to do this. Like,
Yeah, totally.
so I was
There's
like,
always
yeah,
those cursed bands where it's like
yeah,
there's that one band that you're like, oh, I really want to see this band like every time. That's actually like kind of like Opeth for me. It's like I've been a huge fan for so long, and it's just like I actually have tickets for like their tour coming up in October, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see them finally.
yeah.
And so I'm super excited about that.
Hell yeah. I'm always like, I have the tickets, like no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Come on, I gotta get there. I literally there's a band out here. They're from Louisville called Redivider, and like I've listened to them. I fucking love them. I'm like, I'm gonna see them. I'm at a festival, Death in the Midwest, and they're two bands away. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking see them. I'm so excited. I got the shirt. I'm like, yeah. The band playing, someone hit the telephone pole outside. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Power went off and it came back on. They finished their set. The next band took the stage. 3 songs in, all the power completely shut off. All right, show's over.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, actually it's funny because like we just for power outages, we did a run through like West Coast run
Hmm.
and we were playing this town called Richland, Washington, and like it was our last Saturday show, so it was like a 10-day tour. So it was like our second Saturday show. We were all stoked for it, and like people were showing up, and it was looked like it was gonna be an awesome show. And then like the opening band went on, and like not like 2 minutes into their first song, like all the power shut down, and they're like, "All right,
No.
everybody out!" And we like walked outside and like start looking around, and it's like traffic lights are off, and we're like, "Oh shit!" And yeah, it ended up taking like 2 hours for them to get the lights back on. And like right before we were like, all right, let's call this, let's fucking pack our shit up and go. It was like the lights came back on and we were like, oh man, like everyone's gone and like but it was like we still get to play, but like damn, like now
Yeah,
everyone's gone and stuff. But yeah, power outages, those are it's a real bitch.
dude, it is. It is. I feel sorry for all the people that like showed up to that and the power goes out and they're like, fuck, I'm just like, I'm leaving. No.
Yeah, yeah. The same thing happened to me in Detroit out with Mortuous, and it was like on the Left to Die tour, um, on the East Coast, and we were playing Detroit, and literally got there, power was out. They're like, it's
Sanctuary.
yeah, yeah, power was out, and they're like, oh, like it might come back on, and we waited around till like 10 o'clock, and it never came back on. It was just like a bunch of people outside, heavy metal parking lot style, and yeah, it's just like what the hell? Like, what are the chances?
Right. Yeah, I know a bunch of people that went to that show
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
that's
they're like,
or kind of went to
motherfucker.
that show.
Yeah, well, yeah. They were there in the parking lot for it.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Uh
actually kind of fun. We were just like, screw it, like get out the tequila. Let's just like party tonight, I guess.
yeah, we're gonna
So I'm
fucking
kind of like, man, if the lights had come back on, that would have been a pretty interesting set. But
get everyone completely trashed. Like,
yeah, totally.
I don't know. I can't even walk. What the hell? That's some good shit. I was gonna ask you about some funny tour stories, but I think those are some like great tour stories. How
Yeah,
fucking
fucking
awesome is
power
that?
outages, man. It's like can't get away from them, I guess.
No, no, unfortunately, we need fucking power. It almost lends itself to just keep a freaking
Little
generator in
generator.
the back, you know? No power, I got you covered.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, if only.
Yeah, no shit. That would be nice. So, with the release, you guys have vinyl. Do you have variants or is it just a black vinyl?
Yeah, so this is our first time working with Carbonized Records, and they actually reprinted our EP as well. So we've got Senescence on black vinyl, and then we've got like a it's called like the Eco Blue Laguna, and it's actually like a recycled blue um vinyl. So they take like the trimmings from all like kind of like similar shades and just use that. So I thought that was kind of cool. One, I like the color that they had on their mock-ups, but two, I think it's cool to like have like recycled vinyl. It's like a pretty wasteful thing in the first
Yeah.
place. So it's like might as well. And with a album with like the ocean on the cover, it's like might as well like roll with the eco option.
Yeah, well, it matches kind of in the color and it matches in the, in the aesthetic, as far as that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and then the ageless, we've got a black one and then like an electric blue splatter. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, two variants for both, and then tape and CD for both of them as well. So we're all restocked on the EP and got tape and CD for the new one as well.
Hell yeah. So Vile Rites, you guys have plans to tour and hit the States?
I am hoping so. Like we that tour that I was telling you the story from was let's see, at the end, like we got back at the end of July, so
Mhm.
short run up the West Coast. So now with the album coming out, we're pretty much wanted trying to get out there as soon as possible. We don't have anything like set in stone yet, but yeah, pretty much trying to hit the road as soon as possible and kind of get out in front of people. You know, we're still pretty new as a band,
Mhm.
so it's like I don't think I think it would be really beneficial for us to get some live shows out east, I guess, and kind of cover more of the United States and hopefully get out to Europe, really, and kind of on this album cycle, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, I think you guys would do fucking tremendous in Europe with what you have.
That's kind of what I think, and it's there's a lot of cool bands that we already talked to and want to play with over there. So it's like all right, just kind of like getting all the pieces to fit to make it work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's schedules and then everyone else's schedules for the bands over there. You're like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah, and then there's the unfortunate the fact that money is not endless usually.
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah, that definitely plays a part, but yeah, we're definitely planning on being active on this album and hopefully get in front of a lot of new audiences because we've mostly just been I mean we've only just been on basically the West Coast, so there's a lot of new territory for us to cover
Yeah.
and new crowds to play for.
For sure. I feel like with your sound, obviously Europe would be really good, but just getting over to the Midwest and the East Coast, obviously, I think you guys would be really well received over there too.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, and it's that's just one of those things where it's just a matter of time and logistics.
yeah, yeah, those damn logistics.
God damn it.
Can't just live on the road forever, or can we? So out of your years of touring, is there like a place that you like playing more than anywhere else?
Good question. I mean, I actually grew up in Portland, so I always love going back there. That's all because all of the friends are there, and it's kind of just a good time. Great scene in general too. Lots of awesome bands, and um, I would say in the U.S., like I love like Philly a lot. We've played Underground Arts or Mortuus played Underground Arts there a couple times, and love Philly. Yeah, that's the one that pops out. I mean, I always like Minneapolis, Minnesota. My wife's from Minneapolis, so it's cool to get to visit there. Um, but yeah, Chicago too. I love playing Reggie's, so
Okay.
those are kind of the ones that pop into my mind. I've only been to Europe or two, like played music in Europe once, and we just did um, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark,
Okay.
and that was an awesome experience. So definitely want to go back to Northern Europe as well.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I feel like you guys would do fucking, well, you played with Mortuous, so like I feel like Vile Rites would be fucking fantastic right in that region
Yeah,
also.
and it's funny because it's like I'm always like checking you're checking your numbers and stuff and like where your location of listeners, and it's like Finland's always way up there. I'm like, we got to get over there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where you're like, I just need to start advertising a little more over there. Like
Yeah, totally,
push
totally.
that shit.
Exactly.
Do you guys have with the new album, do you guys have European distribution or is it just like the US?
Well, Carbonize has like an EU store.
Okay.
Um, so we're available over there. I don't know if it's going to be as like robust of a thing as it is over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's availability and it will be stocked. Um, so it'll at least be like the physicals and merch and stuff will be accessible. Um, to people overseas and stuff.
Awesome. That's always it it's always a concern I have is like, I fuck, probably, I mean, it's been a long time, but 10 years ago, I tried to order an album from like Germany and they were like,
Uh,
sure, it's going to be like $40 to ship it. And the album is, 30 euros. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not spending $100 on a fucking record right now. Holy shit.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's yeah, that's always a bummer, but yeah, I mean, we have our ways we can get we have some shipping options, but yeah, I think Carbonize makes everything available in an EU store. So luckily that is an option for us
Yeah.
for at least the EU.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Well, Alex, I know like it's getting late here. My day starts at 4 a.m. So I'm like,
Whew.
yeah. So I'm a little tired right now. I greatly appreciate you taking time tonight to come and chat with me. What I will ask is that in the future we can do this again and maybe have a little more time and chat some more.
Absolutely, yeah. Always down to for a good talk.
Hell yeah. Well, Alex, go have yourself a great night, man.
You as well. Good talking to you, man.
Thanks, brother. Yep. See ya.
Later.